Can't trust it.
Can't trust it, that's right. But you can trust this show. You can trust my guest today. It's a Pallazzo PALS special edition. We go about 45, 50 minutes one-on-one. Myself, Michael Govier, and my guest today on the Pallazzo podcast, 2 L's, 2 Z's on Twitter. That's where you can find the free Discord. Patreon if you want to go even farther. You know how to do that. You know how it works. If you want it, do it. If you don't, don't. Today's guest is a man that I've known for a bit now, and he's a Canadian, and my girlfriend's Canadian. So I like Canadians just a little bit more than your typical United States American does. And I think the Canadians, they bring something to the table more than just their politeness. They know baseball, and there is a huge contingent of Canadians who know fantasy baseball, more than there ever has been, really. It's an impressive list, so much so that they have their own league now in the Earth world, which is fantastic. So if you don't know what Earth is, check it out. I'm in Glarf. That's part of Earth. There's 10 leagues with regional leagues all over the country. But today's guest is part of the Dingers podcast. It's a dynasty-focused podcast, but he knows everything about fantasy baseball that you need to know about. He co-hosts it with Ty Childs. He's my friend. He's a fine human being. It's Robbie Baseball.
Hello. Thank you for the short introduction. Happy to be here.
Yeah. I could have gone a lot longer, believe me, but I tightened it up a little bit, in the end, Robbie, you know this better than anybody. Just Bob's here. Hello again. That's right. I just did a show with Deary, the main show, the big show, if you will, about an hour ago. This is the Pallazzo PALS. Just me and Robbie one-on-one talking about stuff. It'll be half fantasy baseball and half not fantasy baseball. So you never know. Actually, he knows all the questions at hand. But in the end, Robbie,
always know if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Always.
Absolutely.
Right?
Like a bag of sand, like a bag of sand.
That's good. Actually, you're going to be on the Cinema 9 podcast, my movie pod next week. That's going to be exciting too. So we're going to I'm going to get a full dose of you.
Kaboom, baby.
Wow. The Fast and the Furious. I've never seen it. I've never actually seen it.
This has the interlude between the first and the second, which makes it all come together, and I will say no more.
Yeah, I don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah, which is the best part.
Well, it's always cool when somebody brings a movie that I've never actually seen. The Fast and the Furious has been it's parodied. It's out there. Yeah, I mean, you called it. Just Bob knows what you're doing. He caught you there. Well done, Just Bob.
For a Yankee fan, I'll take praise. I'm glad that you got the movie.
I will tell you, I know he's got the Yankees insignia there, but he's a really good dude. I've overcome it, and you should too.
I'll try, but I do have the F the Yankees mindset, just like F the Red Sox.
Oh yeah,
and the Tampa Bay we just kind of ignore. You don't have to worry about them. And then Baltimore, it's like, well, we'll see, because I like their players, but they're good enough without being good that you can enjoy Baltimore. Plus, I feel bad for Alex Fast. So.
Did you know? But don't feel so bad. Did you know? You probably do know, because you are a Jays fan and they are in your division. But the Orioles were only 32-39. That's amazing to me in that division.
And that's the thing is you get a lot of in division, the roller coaster ride when you're in and out of the division. And right now with the Jays, I don't think they've played Baltimore a whole lot at the moment. So there's a whole bunch of games where they get to either beat up on or be competitive against, and then that'll really determine what's going on. It's like the Yankees. You got to play the Yankees. You can look at a good record, you can beat up on whoever you want to beat up on outside of your division, but it's all those games inside. So for Baltimore, we'll see if they're really good, which the pitching certainly looks like it's not, but they're a powerful lineup, and I was hoping for more from the time the year started. So I did see somebody just posted up 2 L's, 2 Z's. And I wanted to say, Govier, I know once upon a time you were talking about coming to Canada, whether you are or not. It's Jasper, who I hear you talk about a lot. Hello, Jasper.
I love Jasper. He lives in Indiana. You ever been to Indiana?
I have. Okay. Yes.
Good.
If you become a Canadian or just on Canadian soil, I think you need to officially change the 2 L's, 2 Z's to 2 L's, 2 Z's. It's English, my friend.
I'm a problem solver, all right? This is what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. You are a problem solver. I got to tell you, I haven't officially published it, but I will be living on Canadian soil partly, but I'm not actually, it looks like I'm not going to make the full commitment as of now. We still have the house lined up, which we move into in about 3 weeks.
Oh, wow.
It's a rental, though. So it's a rental for a year. So I will be staying there as much as I can without telling Canada Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wonderful news for me. Look at me. I love Canada. I would love to live there, but I think Leanne, my girlfriend, she wants to give the United States a try. So we might reverse it, actually.
Oh, okay.
Next summer. Plus, we would have had to have we'd have gotten to married very quickly, and that was something we weren't prepared to do because immigration requires you to do so if you want to live there.
As I talked to you about a long time ago now, with my sister moving,
yes.
So she married American, second time out. She went with a lovely American woman and who's from Erie, PA, and they are now living in Orlando, just outside Orlando. So
they live in Orlando. Wow.
Yeah. Like neither of them had ever lived there. And now, so what they did was they bought a house. I don't know if they actually went and physically were in the house or not. They went and had like a weekend where they looked at homes and things like that. But my sister was living in Canada. Her wife lived in Erie for a year and a half before they actually lived together. Like they were married, for a year and a half before they actually lived together. So I'm well aware of how, confusing or just how like annoying that process can be. So for you coming the other way, I appreciate the effort that you're putting in to come to the country. If it doesn't work out and you end up taking a good Canadian with you, that's fine. She was raised well, I'm sure. So.
Yeah, I know it's controversial, but hey, that's how the cookie crumbles. Jasper says, hiya, how's it going? Well, we're doing well. Rob, you can speak for yourself, of course.
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
It's Friday afternoon, okay? I'm good.
Yeah,
my kid came home from school. I've got pizza dough resting right now while we're doing this, and then it's pizza night tonight.
So we're going to talk about some food in the show. Yeah. We're going to do 11 things with Robbie. That's what I do on this Pallazzo Pals. This is a new thing. This is the third one of these. I come up with 11 instead of 10 just because I try to be a little bit more creative.
These go to 11.
Yeah, of course, sure. I got to come up with something. I can't just do it boring, old-fashioned way. And we'll talk about food. But so were you a chef? Are you currently a chef?
Still am. Yeah,
still are a chef.
But I do a lot of things. So I'm a chef at University of Waterloo.
That's right. I knew that.
And then I take the summer layoff and I side hustle year round, but then I make the side hustle into more of a full-time thing. I do boat and canoe repair because that's just something that people don't do, fiberglass work and things like that. So I like to buy the old crummy things, fix them up, restore them, refurbish, put them back out on the water. So that's just like a little thing that I've been doing. But yeah, I'm a chef trained, gave up 14, whatever. I figured it out before when I was looking at your questions. I think it was 14 straight years, where any holiday you can think of, I was working, feeding families instead of enjoying any of my own personal life. And then, when I was 35, I sold my restaurant and, reassessed how life needed to be. And now I am living a much happier life where I've got home and work-life balance managed much better. So,
wow. Good for you, buddy. That's wonderful. That's right. I forgot about that, but that means that you've been in the trenches. So we're going to talk a bit
100%.
about some of that stuff. Don't forget that Robbie hosts the Dingers podcast, okay? It's done quite well with his Canadian partner, Ty Childs, and they talk dynasty, but I mean, you guys know fantasy baseball. But you do focus on dynasty. That's fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely. We will also look at trends because that's the big hip thing now. And we've talked recently, we recorded last night, we were discussing the fact that there are a lot of content creators who change lists in season for dynasty rankings and prospect rankings. And how does that convolute dynasty players' minds? And, a really good entrenched dynasty guy is going to ignore in-season lists a lot more than someone who's newer to it, because they're going to say, oh, this is new, this is new information for me. I'm going to take it in. And we actually got into like the J2 classes dating back to 2015, just so that people understand you have to take, like we call it the dynasty mindset. You can't just redraft your way through a dynasty season or you're going to be screwed. You've got to think long-term and make slow plays and not like drastic roster moves over and over. If someone has a good 2 weeks, that doesn't mean you throw your first round draft pick at them. That kind of stuff in dynasty that really, really burns a lot of people. But yeah, on the podcast, we like to explore those things. And I've got a website that I put up more so from show topics that just became content that I wanted to explore a little further. It's robbiebaseball.com. And on that, I have the blog set up where I'll put kind of show notes and things like that. But it's also like I look at guys at AAA and AA who nobody give a crap about or don't yet give a crap about. Oscar Gonzalez, who is somebody that I think we're going to talk about. I randomly discussed him in early May, and I was watching him, and I'm like, geez, like, click on YouTube, like, let's watch him swing. This is a guy, and now we're seeing that bear fruit. And you have to figure out, is it popular in Dynasty or is it going to be popular in redraft? And sometimes the Yerman Mercedes of it all screws you. So,
he was just traded to the Giants, I believe.
I know.
Giants have been
and
busy.
Willie Calhoun.
There it is. Yep. They're picking up the leftovers, the remains of some players that didn't quite work out for certain organizations. And these days, do you believe, real quickly, the Giants are miracle workers?
You look at how they've been able to disperse talent, Darren Ruff particularly. I'm certainly interested when they get a guy, but every team fails with 15 guys every year. So I'm not saying, Yerman Mercedes got to go get him. I'm looking at it, right? Like, you still got to beat the Dodgers at the end of the day. You've got to construct a lineup to win against a lefty heavy, like, starting rotation in LA. And I think that's why San Francisco does a lot of things they do as well, right? They're designing themselves to beat or win their division rather. So I don't know. I'm not going crazy anytime they get anybody, though. That's for sure.
Oh, well, okay. That's your right. I mean, even though Canadians have less rights than United States people.
What? Come on now. Free healthcare.
That was clearly a joke.
Healthcare.
Clearly that was an exaggeration, especially today. What a nightmare. Maybe I really should move to Canada now. What the fuck am I doing? I think maybe Leanne might reconsider things after today. In fact, I'm realizing this now in real time. Shit. Wow. Okay. Who knows? Maybe things will change.
Future conversation to have, right?
Future. Yes. Maybe a private conversation, not one to have on YouTube.
Not one for podcasting.
In front of there's like 8 people watching, dude. Wow. Okay. So, by the way, I appreciate every single one of you who are currently watching.
They're the best
damn
ones.
right they do. Are you kidding me? The last show we just did with Deary, it was great. 3 people signed up for the Patreon. You guys made my day. You made my week. That was so cool. So thank you to everybody. Round of applause. Thanks, everybody. That's nice. Yeah. Oh, we're trying to do it outside the bun here, I mean, that's what you want to do here.
I thought you were cool, man.
I am cool. I'm very cool. And so is Robbie. Make sure you follow him on Twitter, please. And follow Ty. Shout out to Ty. I love Ty. He's a great dude. And I want to make sure that you guys give the support to these guys because they deserve it. And the show they do is cool. They're funny, insightful, and they're just cool people. And if they weren't cool people, I'd probably say something like, these guys are doing something. There's something going down there. I'd probably, I don't know, drag it out, exaggerate it. So, but
I thought you were cool, man.
Well, I guess I'm not anymore. So, Donovan Miller's here. He said, wish I could make them all. I always catch the pods after if I don't. That's right. If you're listening to this now in the podcast format, that's okay too. In fact, that's great. Some people prefer it that way, but some people like to see our faces for some reason, Robbie. I'm not sure why, but we offer this
facial
faces. Hair. Yeah. We both.
It's got to be
you got a much thicker, you got a good thick one.
I do. And I've trimmed this up. This is also a shirt from high school. I just realized that I'm wearing.
Go Vikings.
So yeah, I was Mishpacotton. Northern Ontario. Yeah, Northern Ontario. So I do have the Michigan connection, which is just, maybe it'll come up. Now we're on Cinema 9 even. But Frankenmuth as a stopping point driving up through the UP. I worked in Gaylord, Michigan for a summer at Treetops Resort. I'm entrenched.
Oh, Treetops. Yeah.
Okay. Love that.
You're too kind, Jasper. You're too kind. We love you, Jasper. You're a great human being. Thank you, Jasper. Sweet man he is. Treetops is a classy place, by the way.
Once upon a time, it was busting and booming and things were looking good. And then I think I had like a 15-year period where I didn't visit. And when I went back, it looked exactly the same, but the paint had faded. They hadn't put any money in. And it was one of those, economics, right? Economics. But either way, love the golf courses there. And love that outdoor lifestyle that, pure Michigan, baby.
You still golf? You're a golfer?
I do not still golf, but I own clubs and could go out. I was once a budding golf professional and then put that aside.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, golf pro in Canada is very hard to do, right? We got the
wow, dude.
Exactly, Chris.
It's like being, it's like being a baseball player in Michigan. You know, you get so many rainouts in high school baseball during the first month or so, and you just can't compete with what they're doing down south. You're right. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. All right, well, let's get into it then. Let's get into these 11 things that we're going to cover with Robbie.
Please go to 11.
And the first one is this. 5 guys to trade for right now. Robbie Baseball, give us 5 guys to trade for right now.
Okay, I picked these 5 guys all because I can explain it in the exact same way. Tristan Mckenzie, Ranger Suarez, Daniel Lynch, Harrison Bader, and Matt Verling. Mckenzie, Suarez, and Lynch are all up and down. The stat lines don't look good. So if the casual person in your league has them, you can certainly convince them that they can be had. If you are a Yahoo player and they do the last 2 weeks, last month, season thing, which a lot of people like to do, none of those lines look elite for any of those guys, but they can all put it together. Tristan Mckenzie amongst that core has amazing stretches. So you can ride him, and every year he seems to be a little better for a little longer, and he still has the blow-ups for sure. And Ranger Suarez, we all know what he did last year, overachieving, but that doesn't mean that they're going to be terrible. I think your worst case scenario with each of those 3 guys is they continue to do exactly what they've been doing, and that's okay. So I think those are guys that I want to get where I'm like, well, I don't think they're going to be worse, and they're already fine as far as, big dynasty league thinking here, 15 teamer and up even. And then Harrison Bader's got 1 billion stolen bases and 1 billion stolen base potential, and his average is okay this year. So you just have to punt. If you're an OBP OPS, that's not your favorite format for Harrison Bader, but that's okay. You also 5 outfielder leagues, he's rostered. So there you go. And then Matt Verling could just be kind of turning it around, getting some consistent playing time in Philly. And that's where in my mind, I like to take shots on those guys because he was somebody who came up last year, hit for average, something he'd never done before. Reese McGuire once upon a time did that with Toronto before he started yanking it. And Verling might just be kind of settling in a little bit here. So those are 5 guys that I'm interested in for sure.
Wow. Okay. Well done.
Always know if the juice is worth the squeeze.
There it is. Robbie knows that as well as anybody. That's why he put his name on it with those 5 guys. Matt Verling is intriguing to me, and so is Ranger Suarez because the Phillies have had such a radical transformation.
Right.
With the removal of Joe Girardi and what they're calling what do they call it? The daycare. All the youngsters are called the daycare now. And okay. Well, hey, it's baseball. We got to have fun.
Yeah. You build some fun into it, right? Look at what the Jays do with the jacket, right? You hit a home run or you have an amazing start or whatever, you get that funny jacket. And
the jacket is sweet. I thought it was the best thing in all of baseball, of all these hats and all these trophies for hitting a home run. I love that jacket.
And what professional sport you can thank for bringing fun into
college football?
No, sorry. No. NHL.
Oh, what?
Because way back, even when I played junior in the late 90s, it was a thing where if you did something well, you got the whatever to wear after the game to do whatever. And that was a thing. It was always a thing growing up where you would have that kind of, which became like a championship belt for a long time, right? Was if you were the team MVP, boom. So you can thank the NHL, everybody. All right.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, what the hell do I know? I'm stunned. I was stunned again. I'm so stunned right now.
Double stunned.
I thought it was college football, but
well, that's also not a pro sport. That's not a pro sport. So we can, it should.
Is it?
Should be.
Is it?
It should be. Well, if you look at the stadiums and the money and the things that can depress us all, but
it basically is now with NIL. It's a pro sport.
Right.
Let's not stand on ceremony. I've heard that said before. Have you heard that phrase?
No, but it sounds interesting.
Sounds dated.
Yeah.
We're not standing on ceremony here on the Pallazzo Podcast. 2 L's, 2 Z's. We're live with Robbie Baseball.
Utah.
Make sure you follow him. Connect with the Dingers Podcast. Give it a 5-star review. Come on. Take it up a notch. Connect with these people.
Cool.
Ty and Robbie know what they're doing. Question number 2. Some of these are questions. Some of them are statements, I suppose. There are 11 things. That's all I know.
Please go to 11.
How has Russell Crowe impacted your life?
Well, as you saw my answer, sadly, he hasn't. But Emilio Estevez. Oh, the mighty Duckman himself. Yeah. No, but Russell Crowe, not so much. There's that movie he did a few years ago where he was like the road rage guy. And movie for a little bit was good. And then it like his body, it went off the rails.
Hey.
So, yeah.
Hey, some people pack on the pounds. I've packed on the pounds. It happens.
I am not the same, 6 foot, 160 pound guy I once was either. So, yeah.
Oh, Oh man. Okay. Yeah. You know your movies. I like that. By the way, a new Elvis movie is out. Are you excited about that at all?
No. And I'm only not excited about it because I want to come into some things blind. And I think the Elvis movie is a good one to come into blind. It's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I keep thinking it'd be really interesting to watch it in order. So I've gotten to a certain point because when, what was the, sugar snap, on Disney Plus, one of the first series that came out where it's the couple.
WandaVision.
WandaVision, thank you. I was like, I'll start watching it. And then I got a couple episodes in. I'm like, well, maybe I should know the full backstory. So why don't I watch everything in order? And then I'm like, you idiot. Look what you were just going to enjoy a show. And now so now I feel this pressure to watch it all. It's much like the Star Wars, right? You want to really get into it. You should watch them all. So I do watch, I watch a lot of movies and things in my downtime when I'm not watching YouTube videos on how to fix everything I own that's broken. So.
Oh, that sounds like fun. You guys have a lot of fun over there, don't you? By the way, that name of the movie you mentioned was called Unhinged. Russell Crowe is unhinged. He can happen. He can happen to anyone. He can happen to anyone. Wow, that's fun. There's a new Marvel movie out today as well, Thor: Love and Thunder. So you're way behind, man. Yeah.
Huh.
Have you seen all the Thors?
I don't know.
You would. You would. Because one of them sucks real bad. Maybe two of them stink, actually. Yeah.
Ragnarok is the one that everyone was like, oh, it's fun, right?
That's a great one. Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah.
So it was like Civil War. When I was watching that, I'm like, this is just like a lot of stuff going on. And then when you hear other people who try, they're out there talking about giving off their opinions. And like, if you have to get into a lot of portals, you know that the writers are struggling. And I'm like, I don't want to think about the writers when I'm thinking about a movie. I want to watch the movie and, be in that moment. And I feel like some of those movies take me out. And then when you have your phone, that's like the worst thing that can happen, right? It's always a good idea to just remove your phone from the equation when you want to, engulf or immerse yourself in anything. So.
Wow. Yeah.
You have failed.
Yeah. Not you, but the writers failed. Yes. All right. Next thing. Robbie Baseball, will you defend head-to-head fantasy baseball? Defend head-to-head for us. Ride or die, head-to-head. I always talk about this in my weekly Fantrax article called the Fantasy Baseball Confidential, that I love head-to-head. It doesn't get enough respect. It kind of gets shit on by some of the people in the biz. So defend head-to-head fantasy baseball.
All right. Well, allow me to get on my soapbox, if you will. And I will say this. Excuse me, everyone. Why don't you defend Roto? Why don't you defend Best Ball and the people who say there's skill to it? Defend two catcher, NFBC, big money leagues. Defend the weight and the ability that people who create content give to 15-team leagues and up, myself included. When the bulk are 10 and 12-team leagues, they're redrafts. There's no middle. There's no corner infielders. There's 3 outfielders, not 5. Defend drafting in November and patting yourself on the back if your roster turns out to be good. Come on. Defend that. Defend save only leagues. That's not the world we live in anymore, people. Defend leagues where you have no IR, no trading, and you can't pick up rookies until the week following their debut. Come on. Head-to-head is baseball. It's sport. The ebb and flow of the season versus individual performances, bumping up a team in one category and putting them down in another, is stupido. One player never wins a game, but can contribute to the overall outcome of a team. Head-to-head is fantasy baseball. Well, thanks for putting me on. Take care, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye. All right. Yeah, hell yeah. That's what I'm talking about. That's passion, that's intensity, and it was substantial. That's the key there. Head-to-head is what most of us love. We grew up on it. Everybody that I ever knew started on Yahoo doing a head-to-head league, and that's just the way it was. Especially, maybe it's a Midwest thing. I don't know. Maybe it's different outside of the Midwest, but everybody I ever knew, that's what we did, and that's was more than okay with us.
And a lot of it was just public leagues with strangers. And then you might, I know for myself, it's like I played in public Yahoo leagues and I had friends who played in public Yahoo leagues, but we were too stupid to realize that, hey, we should play against each other. So it was always just like, look at my team and look at my team. And I lived in Calgary in the 2005 to 7 range and 2 hours different, mountain time. So I would watch, that was back when I was doing my golf pro dream, moved to Calgary to try to pursue that. And
the Saddle Dome.
Yeah, absolutely. 5 p.m. Mountain Time, the Jays games were starting back on the East Coast, and everybody was out on the golf course at 5:00. So I always got to watch Blue Jays baseball, and even set up the pro shop that I worked in. And we called it Pro Shop Baseball, and we would throw and hit to each other inside a pro shop. So stupid, but I mean, when you're in your very early 20s, that's what you did. But it was always like small leagues and things like that. And I know our Dynasty podcast, we try to go bigger because we're looking outside the top kind of 900 guys that are known, the prospects, the impact players, the 26 man on rosters. And we're looking for who's next and who's next that's not highly touted. Cause I think that's fun to me. I don't know. Maybe I suck.
No, that's everything. No, that's everything.
My life, but that's what makes me excited. That, and when my wife gives me the possibility of snuggles, if you know what I'm saying.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's right.
Flawless victory.
Wow. Man, I'm with you, bro. I love what you say. And that's why Robbie Baseball's the man. I'm not just saying that. I would tell people this off air. I really would. Jasper says, my home league, 40-man roster, 7 games per position requirements. Sometimes need to roster 3 catchers. Good Lord.
Disgusting. So you must have Servin with Colorado then, Jasper, because if you need 3 catchers, the moment he came up, and I again, this is another guy I was looking at in April because he just had some walks, and I'm like, how boring is the catcher position? And then you start to look a little further and you're like, well, it's Colorado catcher. It's a Colorado catcher. It's that like Tom Murphy in your brain.
I don't know. It's that boring though. There's a few catchers now.
Yeah. There's totally a skill to it. Like if you were going to pick the position that sucks the most in baseball, you actually have to think about it. You can't just say it's catcher.
Right.
Like second base is not contributing like it's supposed to should. And 4 years ago, it was like before Tatis and Story and everybody broke out in like 17, 18, shortstop sucked too. Right. It used to be all about corner infield. It was get your big first baseman, get your big third baseman. That's where you're getting the bulk of your runs, RBIs, and dingers. Now, like all encompassing. And how can you do it? And, do you want to do studs and duds? There's a million ways to play it, right?
That's true. Donovan says head-to-head is 20 mini roto sessions rather than one long stat collection. The reason 75% of people are done with fantasy baseball by June is because they play roto. Wow. Damn! Donovan coming in hot. Look at that. Also, the arrival of MJ Melendez and Adley Rutschman definitely spiced up the catcher world this year, too. And I love Melendez. I love him more than Rutschman, I frankly do. But that's like a personal bias just because he just looks so damn sleek. He's an athlete. Wow. MJ Melendez is my crush. I love that guy. I'm a big fan.
Do you need a moment?
I might have to take 5 here. I'm gonna let you take over and just talk about yourself for 5 minutes here while I reconsider my passions.
I'll say this to all the Dynasty guys who like to go crazy, because again, like some of the work I do in the off season, which is the work for fun, putting the information out there, is the ADP or average draft position that rookies are getting, first year player draft and stuff. Adley Rutschman was like a consensus 1.5, like in the top 5 of every draft I saw everywhere. And I'm like,
Ooh.
Why are people doing this? And the only justification you would get is he's going to be a game changer, a Hall of Famer, or this. But that's all like the pipe dream that we all have with 16-year-olds in the J2s as well, right? And we know that percentage is single digit to work out. Of course, when it does, it's great. But you could also have picked up Brian Severin the same week Rutschman came up. And I think by the end of the year, you're not going to think, oh, I really missed out not picking up Adley Rutschman. Now, he could get 200 more at bats. Absolutely. You could get more in certain categories, but you don't have to have a player who gets 500 at bats for him to be useful. Sometimes it's about players in positions that don't hurt you. And a catcher, I think it's good to play defense and just be like, I don't want a guy who's going to, Mike Zunino outside of last year, right? Like if you've had him in Dynasty, yeah, poor bugger, like I have in several, you learn a lesson. And that's where you start to look for the Austin Nolas of the world. And you watch them come up and develop, and then you put those guys on your bench and you roster as few catchers as humanly possible. Oh my God, we're talking about catchers. Oh my God.
Yeah, and then you pick up Jorge Alfaro and you have yourself a week.
Oh yeah.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Victory lap certified.
Gabriel Moreno says, what have I chopped liver over here? Yeah, sorry, Gabe. My bad.
You are. I might follow the Jays. I'm a fan, but I'm not super pumped about a team who's depending on 3 catchers when 2 of them are supposed to play every day. I don't like that idea.
Seems odd for a team.
And they've been doing it for 2 years now. It's just like the dumbest thing ever. It's not having Zach Collins versus Reese McGuire. Great, because you can demote Collins, but then you go ahead and call up Moreno. And you already got Kirk hanging out, right? This is not good. This is not good. And then Jansen's like, oh, you're healthy, you're in. And he's like, well, I'm going to suck for 2.5 years and then have 2 good weeks. Like we've seen this, and this is not really comparable, but with Mondesi, right? A small pocket of success and everybody really stretches it out. Well, Jansen's been getting that same thing. People were pumped on him heading into last year. And I didn't get it. Like the catcher landscape is terrifying and I try to stay away from it, but that also forces me to spend a lot of time on it. At the same time, I just ignore the top 10 and I'm fishing in the teens and 20s.
What a contradiction that is. You poor bastard. Maybe the Jays are trying this model.
2 little mice fell in a bucket of cream.
And whoever gets out of that cream and turns it to butter wins. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it looks like both Moreno and Kirk have been eating a lot of it. So how about
hey, I need a rim shot. I can't believe I don't have a rim shot. It's fun. Yeah, that would be like the first thing you think I would have. My bad.
Right.
Okay, so head-to-head rules. Everyone plays it. I love it. And I'm glad that you just defended it the way you did, my man.
Yeah.
All right, the best restaurant you ever ate at was what? And what dish blew you away?
So, like the boys on Hot Wings, I will be the celebrity here and say I love that question. Great question. So, as a chef, I've not only eaten at incredible places, but I've also worked at them. I've worked at 2 of the top 100 restaurants in the world. When I was working there, that's what they were at the time. Langdon Hall in the Cambridge area. Where I am. Thank you. I think we were 76 or 77 in the top 100. And as well, I worked at Charlie Trotter's in Chicago, legendary place. I was there.
Who categorizes that, by the way? Who categorizes the top 100?
That is San Pellegrino's list. They make a top 100 list. Canada often is shafted on the list of the year I was there or whatever, working there, 2010 to 11 or 9 to 10, whenever that was. We got on at 76 and it was like a big deal. They took us all aside and we're like, just so you know, everything here has been going great and it's about to just become ridiculous. And I was like, oh, that's so weird. Cause like I'm quitting soon to go to take a job as a chef at a different place. So but I wasn't running the restaurant. I was just I was working my way through as a line cook in different positions, but that's where you see it all. And at Charlie Trotter's, I was staging. So, which basically just means I go in and I work 16-hour days and I don't get paid for it. And Charlie Trotter was a rude SOB to me and I did not enjoy that experience at all. And it
but isn't that the chef life? Isn't that what chefs do? They're dicks.
It's up and down. I mean, you depending on how you're trained, you can be like, so I was trained with the abuse me, break me down, build me back stronger model. That's how people train me. And then when I was implementing that, it didn't go over very well. And that's because there's been a shift and it's a coddle shift. And that's one of the reasons why I think we're seeing a lot of shortages in food in the economic world. People don't want to go and do hard work, right? They want to just be rewarded. Well, if you're going to work in a kitchen, you're going to, bust your knuckles. You're going to cut yourself. You're going to be a lot of getting your ass kicked, not kicking ass for a long time. So it's tough. But in doing that and going through that experience at Charlie Trotter's, I found some cool people who I've kept in touch with then. I ended up having an amazing weekend in New York. Donovan, take care, my friend. He's leaving. He's got to go do some baseball stuff. Good on you.
Good for you, buddy.
I had a weekend in New York where my wife and I went around and we ate at a combined 21 different Michelin star places. So 2-star, 3-star, 1-star. And it was great. Momofuku Ko, which is now closed, was the place I loved the most. Momofuku Ko is. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. KO. That was where the original Momofuku came up. And then they closed it, opened up another location, then reopened it as Ko, which was a 12-seat restaurant. And I remember driving from Wawa, where I grew up, to Sault Ste. Marie. I pulled over on the side of the highway as soon as I got cell service and waited until 11 a.m. because you can only book 7 days in advance. Booked the seats for myself and my wife. We went to New York later that week and ate at that restaurant. And it was awesome because I was talking, you just like you would at a bar, you'd talk to the bartender, right? I was talking to the chef cooking for me. I started asking him some interesting questions. How'd you smoke this egg? How'd you do this? How'd you do that? And he's like, where do you work? And then I told him, and I don't know, somebody Googled it or whatever. They realized it was like a place of, some clout. And they were like, oh, cool. And then it was free drinks the rest of the night. So we paid $200 or something like that each to eat. But the booze was free. And they were like, we always take care of our own. And we sat beside a couple. It was really, really nice, but I didn't want to hang out with them after. They wanted to hang out with us. And I couldn't hear them that well because at the restaurant it was loud music and cool stuff. And we left. And my wife's like, that guy said he owns Value Village. I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, he said he is the one who owns Value Village. And you didn't want to go like hang out. He would have bought us stuff. was kind of what my wife was saying. We could have had a free night, and I couldn't hear. I was trying to enjoy my experience. So anyway, when I had my restaurant, after it was up and successful, I developed the back area of the restaurant and kind of mimicked the Crowe experience, where you would sit up. I would cook a 5-course meal right in front of you, and you could ask me all the questions you wanted to, and you could say, you know what, I'm not a big fan of feta. I'm like, all right, well, let me change your mind, and if you don't like it, I'll make you something else. And then I love that experience as a chef, and I loved it as a patron. So I have to say Momofuku Ko, that was great. But just going on that New York food specific journey was awesome. It was brief, but it was awesome.
Wow, that is fantastic. Joe says, mind blown. Top 100 restaurant list? Is there a restaurant pipeline top 100? Are there restaurant fantasy leagues? What would the categories be?
Service. No, they're I mean, look it up. Michelin stars, like the tires, Michelin, and it was started in order to get people for tourism reasons. So 3-star would be like, it's worth just going to that location for that meal. 2-star is it's worth going to that region and you have to eat there. 1-star is it's worth eating, at that location. So in Canada, we don't have the Michelin star system. In the States, they have it in pockets. So like there's a really good emerging food scene in Detroit as well.
Really?
But there's no, as far as I know, there's no Michelin star system in Detroit, but there is in Chicago, of course, right?
Yeah,
Chicago.
I've never heard of it around
LA.
here at all. I know a little bit, but I'm not as expertised as you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's a technical term. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, Detroit's got a lot of fun stuff brewing there too. It's I think there's so many restaurants that popped up in the last 7+ years that I don't know if I'd be able to go to all of them right now. It would take a lot of time. But what a story. That's so cool, man. I've heard a lot of stories about the restaurant life. I worked the restaurant life. I didn't get to the levels that you have been in. I was just more of your typical, how would I describe it? I worked at a restaurant
or independent restaurants.
They were I did both. Of course, I did the.
Yeah, I've done both.
I served at the franchises like Chili's, Fridays, Applebee's. I did all three as a server, but I worked as a line cook at a independent restaurant here in Michigan. It's called the Stillwater Grill. If you ever go to Brighton, Michigan, Stillwater has the open floor plan, right, where you can see into the kitchen. So
nice.
It ruined a lot of the experience for me because I got in so much trouble all the time because, believe it or not, I would be very loud on the line. And when I was started as a dishwasher, I'd have to they'd go, bus tub pickup. That was always a thing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I'd come up when I first started as a dishwasher. I'd come blowing in there. Oh, bus tub pickup! And saying all these. I said a lot of inappropriate things that would have got me fired, but fortunately they took pity on me and said, "Just get your ass in that goddamn dish tank and don't say a word." So
yeah, clean it out. We used to do so when we would like at fine dining restaurants, you'd get all your plates together. So you'd call for whatever for table something, and then when you were ready, we would yell out "bus boy," and that was for the runners to come up. So we would at this one particular restaurant in Stratford where I worked, the church restaurant. I ended up getting married at that place, and it's not actually a church, but that's what it was called. So. And it was CAA or AAA diamonds. So there's a diamond rating system as well. So there's 5 diamonds, 4, 3, whatever. So it was a 4-diamond place that I worked at as well. Yeah. The fun experience with that was that you could be a super pretentious asshole in the kitchen. So that I honed right in on that one. Oh yeah, baby. So, you'd really get some English on the old bus boy. And then when the guy would come back, you'd be like, what has taken you so long? And then they'd go and run the food and they'd hate you, but you didn't realize that you were being a dick. You just thought you were having fun at work because your job is so hard that's your release. And then I got switched, like you had worked in an open kitchen. I got switched from the closed in section to the upstairs section, the belfry, but the main kitchen was open on the main floor. So I could no longer do those things. I had to be quiet, but you could be sitting out in the dining room and you could look over and see this guy with sweat dripping off his face. We used to joke that we didn't have to season the food because the sweat would just drip off onto the plates. Of course, that is not a real thing, people. It is a joke. But that was what we would say: is if you forgot to season it, you just wipe your brow and throw it off.
Hey, I've seen Waiting. I know how it works.
Oh my! Have you seen Still Waiting? They made.
I didn't have the. I didn't have the fortitude. I love Waiting. It's one of my. Yeah. It's just one of my favorite comedies. There's so few restaurant comedies that exist like that are so
and they
so
really
accurate.
nailed it. Yeah, they really nailed it.
They totally nailed it. The Bennigan's experience or the Chili's or whatever, all the shit on the walls. Yeah. And the lifestyle. Every night's a party, and then like you go back, you work your ass off, you work 12-hour shifts, you do doubles. Oh, it was so good. Yeah, I love waiting, but I didn't see Still Waiting. I did not.
It's not worth it. You know, if like I went to the theater in Calgary to see Waiting because I was so excited that there was like a restaurant kind of movie about it, because that was when I transitioned from trying to be a golf pro to realizing my true fate was that it just wasn't going to happen for me. And then I was bartending and serving at 3 different places at the same time, trying to pay rent. And, you know, I'd made a bad choice of renting a house, thinking that the golf course I was working at was going to hire students from outside of Calgary. And then I was going to have them live at my place. And then I would live rent free 5 months of the year. And then I would have their extra money was going to help me to offset so I could live in a nice place. Well, that didn't happen. So I had to pay bills, and I worked at all these different places. So I had a breakfast shift, I had a lunch shift, and I had a late night shift. Wow. And and this was all serving and bartending. This was before I got in the kitchen. And then I started to manage. And then it was just, it was a whole thing for me.
Manage.
Yeah. So I did it all. Like in high school, I cooked, and, you know, I would be the slaw guy and mix the fries and do all that crap. And then when I got into the management side in my early 20s and stuff, and then I realized that that's not what I wanted to do. And then I really wanted to know the food. So I went the food route, and I even went back to culinary school when I was 25, because I didn't want to be the guy who they're like, yeah, but like you don't have the education. So I went back and did an apprenticeship and busted my ass, and did it all. Good times.
Wow. There's a trade-off here we got to talk about. Last thing, I watched the Anthony Bourdain documentary recently. That's on HBO Max. Is he an overrated cook?
It really pissed me off. That documentary really pissed me off, because I know a lot of people who took his suicide very hard. Yeah. And I said, this is no longer the guy you fell in love with. This is a different person, you know?
Thank you.
What I saw and it's very much like I read a lot of every cookbook that came out, every author that I appreciated, every chef that I liked. I read and bought all of their stuff. There was this website that was emerging at the time called Amazon. You could order books off of it. I ordered books off of Amazon, and I would read them all. And it was so frustrating to go back with that documentary and be like, but Bourdain wasn't in the kitchen for so long. Like his life became depressed for completely like different reasons. So being upset about that, you're upset about a guy 30 years ago who wrote this book, or 25, whatever it was. You're not upset about the guy that has passed now. Like he's a TV personality. Like the Food Network is horrible. It was once interesting, you know, and like you're talking to a guy. I was on Chopped once upon a time, the reality show, and
you were.
Like, I was Chopped Canada. I should specify Chopped Canada. And I was so excited to go on it, because I'm like, you know, you have Top Chef and these other competition shows. I'm like, well, I can see how they would all have errors and stuff, but Chopped is like the clock starts, right? Clock starts, you got to do your shit. That's not actually the case. Like, yes, the clock starts and it's straight time, but it's also like all about the personality, you know. Like I went in the line with the other chefs, and we were discussing, like, they're like, you tell us about your dish, right? So of the 4 of us, I had like the only edible dish in the first course. The one guy had left a piece of like the plastic from ripping a bottle top off. It was in his food. If you're out, that should be an automatic, right? But somebody else had tried to fry an oyster in cornmeal and oil, and they didn't get it hot enough. So it was raw cornmeal oyster oil that they had to eat. It just sounded disgusting. And then the other guy, who's wearing his combat boots and is like, I lost partial hearing when I was, you know, defending our country. And he's wearing those boots. And I'm like, well, you're going to win then, you know? And so he got through, and of course he did win. And his name's Alvin. I, you know, kept in touch with him. He's a nice dude, but immediately I was like, well, this isn't a cooking competition. That's what I went for. A cooking competition that's filmed. This is a tug at your heartstrings. And like, I wasn't willing to say like, oh, this is my sub story. You know, I was there to be like, I want you to all hate me, and I want to kick ass. And then I got, you're an
authentic dude. Yeah. Be yourself.
Well, yeah. Like I worked at my restaurant until 9:30 the night before, drove to Toronto. They gave us the smallest hotel room you can imagine.
Sure.
And I couldn't get to sleep because we had to be downstairs at 6 a.m. for the call time. So I managed to get down there, nervous as can be, you know, and trying to think like, just cook how you cook. And then you get in and you stand in front of the judges, and then it's all about like personalities and stuff. I'm like, well, I'm effing exhausted. I am a working chef right now. I am exhausted. And I came here to get $10,000 because my restaurant will use every cent of that, you know, like that will be huge for us. But instead it goes to a guy who's like a line cook at an Earl's. So hey, nice to see you, Ty.
Oh man, that's some funny ass shit, man. I love it. By the way, I don't even know what this means. Is this the Dean McDermott or Brad Smith era?
It was Dean McDermott. It was season 1. It was Dean McDermott.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then Chuck, who was on my Chuck Hughes was gone. He was good. And then Roger Mookin, who I don't respect, so that was useless. And then there was a woman who I didn't know at the time, and then they wouldn't tell us anything about the judges. So if we didn't know who they were, we couldn't find out information. And I prefer to be judged by those that I respect. I want somebody who can actually like tear me down, and I'm like, I get it, and I'll be better from this. Not somebody who's like, I found it to be a little spicy. I'm like, okay. Yeah.
Always know if the juice is worth the squeeze.
I guess it's just another lesson in that right there. It surely is. Wow, that was amazing. But my final point there is that you did take away what I took away from that Bourdain doc, because this guy was not like, I'm like, based on what I saw in that doc, I'm like, this guy's not like cook chef wise, not a legend in any.
No, oh god,
means.
no,
Like,
no. He's
like he took the money and ran with the opportunity and left that behind.
Yeah, I think. He did not.
I'm not shitting on the guy. He killed himself.
No,
that sucks. But let's be real here.
Yeah, if Thomas Keller had killed himself, if that would be a completely different thing. Thomas Keller is a legend and has done many things and has spawned greatness with other chefs and restaurants, and he has a legacy. Anthony Bourdain's legacy is also in the culinary realm, but it's through writing and television shows, and he's friends with the chefs who get it done. He was in the trenches, but he wasn't in the trenches and rose up from them. He wrote about it while he was down there. That's the difference. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, thank you so much. I think that's an important, fascinating distinction. All right, back to baseball. Jasper has a trade. I have Luis Suarez, and I've been offered Ryan McMahon, Ketel Marte, Saya Suzuki, and Owen Miller for Luis Suarez and Austin Hayes. Whoa. Dude, I would take that all day. I mean, right off the bat, you're getting McMahon, Ketel Marte, and Suzuki, and Owen Miller. Just, wow.
For bulk, for sure. I mean, but then you get into a roster crunch because you should already have a full roster, which means you're cutting 2 guys. So who do you got to cut in order to make up for that? And if those cuts are even like borderline assets to your team, which obviously they are, because why would they be on your team, right, Jasper? Then you really have to consider the fact that it's not a 2 for 4, it's a 4 for 4. And if you've got room on your roster, there's probably a better option to stream to pick up out there. But like Ariz has just been such a fun surprise in a year where average sucks. He's a valuable tool, so that's a tough one. I would say no, because sometimes you just want to have him. Yeah. See, we think alike.
Okay. Yeah. He's in 3rd place and 12 team head to head.
Yeah. So you got lots of talent out on your wire in those leagues. You got to, you got to be patient. Sometimes the trades only look good if you just quickly look and then, walk away. So.
That episode is literally titled All's Fair and Cooking in War. No surprise who won.
Oh, the one I was on? That's what it's called?
Is that true story?
Wow. They give everything a name. Okay. Yeah, it was like
nice job,
1,
Joe.
episode 4 or 5, something like that. Yeah, I think you can watch it if you care to. I don't know why.
I will. I'm going to find that later. I got something to do tonight on my busy Friday night. Wow. Jasper says, just got offered Ezekiel Duran and Ketel Marte for Arias. Ooh, well.
I'm not in.
Still not in.
I'm not in. No, I think when you've got a guy who can provide you with something really high average in a time when it's very difficult to have average, he allows you to take chances with other guys. So if you eliminate that and then you have like an Aaron Judge who can slump, Ohtani who can slump, it makes it harder for you to get that average back.
What if he slumps?
Yeah, I mean, if he slumps, then that changes the whole conversation. But he's not.
Arias will slump eventually. I'm calling it right now. I'm putting it on the record here.
If his slump is 250, that crushes others whose slumps are 150. There's still a cushion, I would say. But for sure, I mean, it's not like he's a lock, right? He's not a lock. He's not Nick Madrigal.
Wow, dude.
Yeah.
And Yarmovich was the female judge.
Oh, yeah. See,
you remember that?
Afterwards, honestly, that drive home was the most enraged I'd been. It was the exact same drive that I would take after Jays games. And you could listen to the post game thing. I was doing all of those same call-in things in my head of this is why I lost. It wasn't related to what I did. It was this, it was that. Yeah. So that was good to bring this stuff up. Bastard. Hey, do you want to talk about when my parents died?
Hey, all right.
Keep
we're
it
having a
going.
blast here on the Pallazzo Podcast. Oh, man. Good stuff. Okay, look, let's get back to the 11 things.
Sure.
We're talking live with Robbie Baseball. Go to RobbieBaseball.com or follow him on Twitter, Robbie Baseball 1, numerical 1 on Twitter. For the Dingers podcast as well, the Dingers Fantasy Dynasty Baseball podcast. The hitter and the pitcher we need to know about right now is who, Robbie? The hitter and the pitcher we need to know about right now.
I'm going to go with the outside the MLB for my pitcher, and that's Casey Lawrence with Toronto, who was up relief last weekend. I think he was up and then back down, and then he goes back to Buffalo and pitches a gem, 7 innings, 11 Ks, I think it was. He's at AAA. He's 34 years old. I have mapped out. Yeah, I have mapped out how he's also not a rookie. He's spent enough time, like 70 something MLB innings. But I figured out a way for him to get 4 starts with Toronto up until the All-Star break, which should be enough time for them to figure out what they're going to do with the rotation. They just need to move because they've got 8 games next week. So he should definitely start one possibly next Saturday. And then if you continue on the schedule, he's going to keep going. Now, Lawrence has never been anything good until this year, but jeepers creepers as he locked it in with the Buffalo Bisons. Opening day starter, had a quality start out of the gate and just running with it. Now, again, I am a dumpster diver. Ty will tell you that. If you listen to Dingers, you're going to wonder why I'm harping on guys who nobody gives a rat's ass about. It's because I look at the projection and I also look at depths in the system. And if Toronto, who likes to hold their assets forever, they're less likely to make a move without exposing Casey Lawrence to his full potential. Like that's just how they're going to be, which is similar to one of my favorite things in baseball, which is the Rule 5 draft, which is the other MLBer I'll give you, everybody who wants an MLBer, Tyler Wells with Baltimore starting pitcher. He's turning it around. He's a Rule 5 guy. The issue he's going to run into is total innings pitched, which we've seen with a ton of guys. I think he's almost at a career high right now. Maybe he is, but he's a long-term play, dynasty keeper league for sure. I have so much Tyler Wells. It's funny. But one of the reasons that I did it was because I thought he was going to be the closer, not a useful starter. So it's like, I was throwing the dart to get me a closer, and I ended up getting a starter. So what a happy accident that is, right?
Where'd all the K's go?
Well, yeah, you gotta do the points league perfectly fine, but he's not going to be a 15 point per game starter. So you gotta look at what's going to happen here. And what should happen with Tyler Wells? Well, the K's should absolutely go up because that was the thing that was drawing me in last year. So if he's pitching to contact, if that's what Baltimore is saying, pitch to contact, so you throw less pitches so you can get further into games, I'm totally cool with that, because that just means that in 2023 and 2024, he could possibly go back to his original strike you out game. It's possible. It's possible. And on the hitter end, Ryan Mountcastle, because I love the Orioles, I guess. I love the Orioles. Ryan Mountcastle's had 2 crappy starts to seasons. And, right now, I think the last 2 weeks, he's 45th guy in 8x8. He's heating up. And see, I have to do my own sound effects.
He's
Ty
heating
won't let
up.
me touch the board. Yeah, Ty won't let me touch the board.
Oh, boom shakalaka.
In the offseason, people will have forgotten about Mountcastle's slow start. So he's going to start to get that hype back up. But the overall numbers are not going to reflect because of how much room he's had to make up the rest of the year. So, and as a prospect guy, Elijah Dunham with the Yankees, who's got a really interesting story for another day. But he's somebody.
I saw him play last year, didn't I?
Oh, did you really?
No, I'm just kidding. I actually saw Austin Wells. I was thinking of Wells. That's what it was.
Well, that's the other thing. Somebody said to me, "Do you mean Austin Wells?" I said, "No, Tyler Wells, Baltimore."
Austin, Boston, Massachusetts.
Road trip.
That's good
there
stuff.
Tom Green, Canadian.
I saw a road trip in the theater after doing acid all day. It was kind of the tail end of the acid, but that's a true story.
Exact same experience, except for the acid. I watched it in the theater.
It was the same thing. Just take away the acid.
Pretty much. I'm sure I've got the
Chad
DVD
says
somewhere over here.
It's a great. I still love that movie. It's hilarious. So I always loved. Tom Green is a legend to me. I'll always love. Freddie got fingered. Hilarious. So I'm all in this year in Dynasty. I've traded away Leiter, Jack, I assume, Yuri Perez, Marcelo Mayer, Jose Moreta, and Andrew Painter, Lodolo, and Mize. My remaining trade chips are Pete Crowe Armstrong, the right to draft Drew Jones, and George Valera. Wow. Good
What is
God.
this, a 4-team league? Like, how do you have all that draft capital from last year? Leiter.
Good heavens.
And then Perez would have either been a pickup that you could do in season, And if that's the case, Chad, if you can pick up in season, there will be more. If you can pick up dudes in season, trade them all, buddy. There will be more.
That's right. The market is dry, says Chad, and I need a starting pitcher, but the pickings are guys like John Gray, Carrasco, Snell, Skubal. Those are my remaining chips. Too strong for that mediocre crop.
Absolutely. Don't go be desperate. You know, I understand the idea of not falling behind, but there's also a ton of season left. And one of the things that I like to do in leagues is not beat myself up if I'm in and around the 500 mark up until whatever your league's trade deadline is. You want to just be in contention. All you need to do is get to the dance, right? You can run the floor. In one 30-team dynasty, a team got in, I think they were like 1 over 500 in 2019. And then the guy beat the piss out of everybody in an 8x8 using RPs because he just had injuries, and he played it so smart. And he won the league, and it was $2,100 or whatever the heck it was. It was huge. No, it was more than that. It was 30-team league, $100. So he won $2,800, and he just snuck in. So depending on, your thing, don't go making that move. And I certainly wouldn't be going for anybody who could get traded. I know Ty likes to do that. He projects somebody will be traded, so he likes to go and get those guys. I find that to be scary, especially if they don't do it. Like if you get stuck on a team or stuck with a team that gets worse. Right. Because we've seen it happen with John Gray last year, right? Everybody was expecting him to get traded, doesn't get traded, stuck in Colorado. So,
well, it's the Rockies. They're morons. Everybody knows that. Come on, man.
This right here is a silver bullet, all the way from Colorado.
Oh, I like that one.
Not like a Coors Light.
That's what's that show? That's the Gemstones.
Yeah.
Beauty.
That's right. Very good. That's Walton Goggins. That's Baby Billy. That's right.
Yeah,
Baby Billy has always got something to say. Baby Billy is so funny. We are in a dynasty league together. You brought me into your 30-team player to be named later, and my hitting is actually really good, but my pitching staff's so awful, so I kind of screwed myself there. I'm learning lessons.
There will be players that go up as the year goes on, and if I don't mind tooting my own horn in that league, just very briefly, I am undefeated in that league right now, 10-0. And the most points scored. And my outfield is horrible. And my relief pitchers, when the year started, you would have laughed and said, who is Clay Holmes? And why do we care about him? And that's just like the fun of dynasty sometimes, is you can get these guys, especially in points leagues, where they can do things that aren't closer related, aren't impact related. I'm going to really quickly look
I spent
at my
$14 million on Will Smith, by the way. Yeah. Remember that?
There you go. and that's not necessarily a fault, because it seems like it's a good idea at the time, right? But you can also get away with some crappy guys. Like this weekend, my outfield is Orlando Arcia, Taylor Trammell, and somebody whose last name is Madras, Bly Madras with the Pirates. See, I don't even know the first name. I'm just taking chances.
You have these guys. Did you have Bly in your minor league system? He was part of your squad, or did you pick him up?
I just picked him up on 30-team waivers because nobody had him. But I also have Matt Vierling in that league. I drafted Cooper Hummel. I drafted for guys to just chip in, and that's what's been happening. But I also have good players like Kyle Lewis and Bryant that are injured, and I'm not willing to trade away my draft capital when I'm already I should not be 10-0. No way, I should not be 10-0. But why would I trade away guys right now when I'm still doing it? But I have Casey Lawrence in that league also. I picked him up, and I'm hoping for good things in the future because I'm willing to take a chance on it, just like I was with Luis Garcia. Held on to him for way too long, traded him away, traded him back. You just get into these little grooves with guys. But anyway, that's what it is. Jordan Romano's my one legit in before the season started. RP in that league, and I drafted him. He was a Rule 5 guy, thrown away and tossed back, and so you can't. Nothing's for sure, right? A guy gets hurt.
No.
Clay Holmes is better because Chapman got hurt. That's
absolutely.
Everybody cares more about that. So
everybody cares more. I went all in on Lucas Giolito as my ace on that team too, and that has not worked out. So lessons
he
learned.
has the thoroughbred look to him, but then the results just aren't enough.
Never. Yeah. Yep. I totally agree with you. By the way, Joe says, just read Robbie's article on the 2015 J2 class retrospective. Great article and interesting talking points. And that's high praise from Joe because he's really into Dynasty and he knows a lot himself. So good for you,
thank
Robbie.
you, Joe. I also just put up on the website a new clicker thing. Header. Is that what they call it? Yeah. And
Yeah.
I put all the J2 results dating back from 15 up to 2022. So these are basically places that had like top 30 rankings, or they signed for the 30 highest bonuses, so that you can have a look as a dynasty player and be like, do I really want to invest? Because like, look at 2015. That was the Vlad year. That's the next episode of Dingers that comes out. We discuss the 2015 class and we go up and through the list, but it's out there for everybody just to look at when you're referencing like, what is the track? Because it was the Wander Franco year that everybody started to kind of pay more attention to the guys outside the top 3. And then in 2020, we all went nuts, right? Everybody was putting a ton of draft capital into 16-year-olds. And now it's like, well, we got to wait to see. But in 2015, which produced Vlad, produced Tatis, produced Soto, then you go into 2016, it's Jordan Alvarez. That's it right now.
Genius.
So you got to look at all the different ways to win and build, et cetera,
Outstanding.
and so on.
Yeah, Jasper says, I got Juan Yepez off the free agent market. Congratulations, Jasper. Good for
There
you.
you go.
Yankees suck, but they do have a few decent pitching prospects in the work for 23, 24, 25.
That's true, but you could have just stopped at Yankees suck.
Hey, booyah! That's funny. I love that. I don't have a booch, so I just hit that button instead. Chad says, I know I already grabbed guys like Waldichuk, Maddox, Bruns? B-R-U-N-S? Do I know who that is? Wait, it's Maddox Bruns. I don't know who Maddox Bruns is.
No.
I don't
Will
know.
Warren.
Will Warren. My favorite, Yosfer Zululeta, Griff McGarry, and Mason Black to restock. There's a lot of names there that I frankly just don't know. And when I don't know something, I admit that freely. I do. So.
Yeah, there are names that I'm not sure of there, but Griff McGarry, I know, because we've got a guy who follows college baseball, Mason Mcrae. So Mason _ Mcrae. If you want to know everything about college hitters and stuff, or pitchers, he's the guy. He knows so much. So when he comes on and talks to us when we get ready for the draft, and when everyone's getting, who's this guy, who's that guy, Mason can tell us all those X stats that people love that we try our best not to talk about on Dingers.
Okay, we're running super long on the show because there's been so much fascinating stuff, which is a good thing. So we're going to speed this up really quickly. And I want you to answer exactly what you wrote in the document, literally, okay, on this next one. As a Canadian, how do you view the current climate in the United States today, and does it influence your country at all?
Merca.
There it is. Thank you very much. Next question is, yes, okay, audience, hold your applause to the end. Name some buy low pitchers for redraft. We kind of covered this sort of. Could you give me maybe one or two real quick?
Yeah, Alex Wood, John Gray are guys who are better now than they were earlier in the year. I also drafted and dropped those guys, so I've got to have to pass on them. But Soroka is coming along, facing live hitters now, and Ross Stripling with Toronto. I think he'll get some run up to the trade deadline, and then it's up to him between now and then. But anybody, I mean, you probably are in a dynasty or fantasy baseball league with a Canadian, and they probably already have him. So you're going to need to be careful on that acquisition, because he's very likely to go back from starting just into the bullpen, and he's not going to be high leverage at that point.
Well said. Okay, next one is the concert that you remember the most is?
It's Nickelback in Calgary. The asterisk is that they're from the area. So it was really interesting. And the opener for that show was Danko Jones. If you know Danko Jones.
I don't know.
Danko Jones is good at the music. And then the band Live.
I love Live. Throwing Copper. Classic, of course.
I was very excited to go see that. I've also seen
her feet. All right, I'll stop there.
Nailed it. I did see at the Palace at Auburn Hills.
Ooh, no longer exists.
I know, but it's Detroit relevant for you. I saw Matchbox 20 there. I took my then girlfriend, now wife, and we went there and took her for her graduation. And we saw, who was it? It was Maroon 5 opened when Maroon 5 was Nobody from Nowhere, and then
really?
Then it was Sugar Ray, who I was like, oh, that's cool. But it was Detroit, and you know who came up on stage? Kid Rock came up on stage and played a few songs with Sugar Ray, and I was like, I'm down with this. And that was like 2003.
Oh, yucky. What smells of old sour milk?
Yeah, did someone say that at the show or no?
No, they were playing the harder Sugar Ray song. So, but I haven't done a lot of concerts. I am going to Rage Against the Machine next month, and I've been waiting 2 years.
Oh, wait, which one? Where at Toronto?
In Hamilton.
Oh, in Hamilton. They're playing next month. Are they back on tour fully? Because I thought we were going next year.
I was just told by the guy who owns my ticket or whatever has it that it's next month, and he said it's the 19th.
Holy shit!
I was like, oh, it's good. So before I turn 40, good, just in time.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm a huge Rage Against the Machine fan. Always have been. Always been one of my all-time favorite bands. I finally saw them for the first time in 2008 at Lollapalooza, which was so cool. Right. I loved it. It was such a great time.
Well, I heard you talked about Pearl Jam. I've seen Pearl Jam as well. And I liked the show, but when I left, my friend who came with me was like, that's pretty much the same concert they did 18 months ago. And that ruined my experience. So I'm like, but I liked it, and it's just because I think he was just expecting something new. And he was disappointed by the fact that it was almost like the same set list.
Hear me, there you go. Dolphins cry. I love catching the live show. No OU. What does that mean? Do I know what that means?
I don't know.
I don't know what that means. Deadline 63. Help me out. Deadline 63. You're a brand new username to me. Welcome, Deadline 63. OU equals pun. Thanks, autocorrect. Oh, okay. Thank you. You clarified.
Perfect.
Hope all are doing well. We are Deadline. Welcome to the show. Thank you very much for that. Jasper says, seen Iggy Pop in Pearl Jam in 2000.
Oh,
nice,
that's cool.
Dude. Yeah, that's pretty badass. But that 2008 Rage Against the Machine show at Lollapalooza, it was a wild time. It was one of the best shows I ever saw. Some people almost died, which is terrible. We don't want that. But it was because it was so intense. Yeah, no one actually died. No one died. And no one was even hurt, really. It was just...
Was that the mosh pit out of control situation?
It was just like waves of people at Lollapalooza, hundreds of thousands of people pushing up all the way to the front, and it just becomes this... We look like ants above, if you're looking down at us, it just looks like this glob of people, and it was so intense. It was so awesome, man. Woo! That was a good time. Didn't need acid for that one. I was just straight sober for that. So, yeah, I don't need acid to have a good time, guys. I want to make that clear, okay? All right, a couple more questions. We're done. Talking live with Robbie Baseball here, RobbieBaseball.com, Robbie Baseball 1, numerical 1 on Twitter. Follow him, The Dingers Podcast. Follow Ty Childs while you're at it. Follow both because the show is great. Oscar Gonzalez, does his low walk rate concern you, Robbie?
Nobody should have invested much in him, so whatever he's doing is a bonus. And do we really want to get into walk rates with a guy like Gonzalez? No. You're not getting him? Okay. If it's a category you depend on, I don't know. Cleveland does not have a good track record with doing things with their outfielders until this year, which is playing them when they're doing well. Until this year, it had been a problem. Talk to Tyler Naquin. Talk to Zimmer. Talk to anyone who played in their outfield the last 6-7 years. It's been annoying. So I'm just happy that he's out there, and I'm not going to concern myself with what I would like to see. The stability that can come from a guy who's taking walks. I'm okay. I'm okay.
That's great. Well said. But it's actually, I'm a Tigers guy, of course, but the Guardians have a fun team right now. It's pretty wild. Offensively.
Yeah.
All right. You laughed the hardest in your life when?
I do laugh all the time. Makes life worth living and whatever
Absolutely.
You put on the postcard. But I think one of the best nights, lots of laughs, was my wife's 35th birthday. Which was an undisclosed number of years ago, but I threw the surprise party. We had a restaurant at the time, and I laughed all that week because we had a commercial fridge at our house in our garage. And sometimes I would go and deliver or pick things up from farms on my way home, put them in that fridge overnight, drive them into the restaurant the next day, food safety and not wanting to get people sick. So I filled it with booze, she's like, what are you doing? I said, I'm just like going to cool these things down before I bring them into the restaurant or whatever. And my restaurant only served food grown in Canada. So we didn't use, Bacardi breezers and stuff like that, but she didn't catch on because her brain was on other things. Anyway, her family, all of her friends, everyone showed up at her house or at our house after we left to go take our dogs for a walk and delay things. And then she got to come back and she still didn't even understand that all these people were at our house. And then she walked in the door and she saw her parents looking in from the patio, and she's like, huh, what's happening? And I was like, happy birthday. And so it was a big, exciting, fun, laughed so much that night. It was a great time. That whole experience was a very positive one. So,
that is so nice. See, that's the kind of story we like to hear on this show. A personal tale of happiness and laughter, which feels good, feels good.
Doing things for others.
Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, who doesn't love a good laugh, right?
Exactly.
By the way, That's a very weird laugh.
That's I like that one. I wish that was my laugh.
I bet you do, Panama Red. I will tell you this. The Rage Against the Machine tour is oddly really kicking off in Canada, basically. They're starting Wisconsin, technically, but they're cruising through Toronto and Hamilton, and then they're closing it next year. I was right. The last two shows of the tour are at Detroit.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Wow, they're going to Europe. They're going around the world. They're basically right next to us, but they're not actually coming here. And then they're going to come back and I don't really understand who came up with the tour plan. Like, look at this: Chicago, Ottawa, Quebec, Hamilton, Toronto, Buffalo, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. You're right there. Michigan's right there. I mean, you can just pop in. No, then we're going to North Carolina, DC, New York, and then we're going to international. Okay, so there it is. Unusual, but I don't know how tours are.
I wonder
designed.
that could have completely changed because of the 2-year delay as well, right? It could have all been part of a loop. Because when we first looked, I think we were debating between Toronto and Hamilton, and it was something to do with a day off, where we're like, well, they don't have a day off before Toronto. I think they do before Hamilton. Let's go to after they've had a day off. Let's go see them when they've relaxed a bit. Unfortunately, it's in Hamilton, but still.
You don't like Hamilton? You're not a big fan?
It's known as the Steel City in Canada. It's not known as like a great place to go walk around and take in all the sights. It's fine. It's a Canadian city. It's fine. It's just not. Southern Ontario kind of sucks when you get into the metropolises. You gotta get away. You know? Oh, it does. I grew up in Northern Ontario. Southern Ontario super sucks. It's hot and gross, but when you get into pockets, the province is great. So there are pockets in Southern Ontario that are great. So I'm sure you're going to live in one. Welcome to Canada.
I'll barely be living in Canada. It'll be Detroit. It's basically Detroit over there. Windsor's Detroit. So
Windsor is the Detroit of Ontario. So
absolutely,
there you go.
Yeah, it's clear. I mean, it's tough times over there. I feel bad for a lot of people there actually, but there's some nice parts too. Being by the river is fun in the summer. Looks cool, you know. Wow, Belding really going off there. All right, and then. I love that Belding. I used to do the Belding laugh when I was a kid. Yeah, there it is. That's my Belding laugh. All right, and then this is the last one, I think. Give us 3 players that you expect to be traded relatively soon. This is something you don't like to do, but I'm making you do it anyways.
Yeah, Frankie Montas. Ty won't shut up about him going to the Yankees.
Look at this. I'm sorry. Look at this. Wow.
Hamilton is inheriting that sack of London. Wow.
Chad, are you Canadian, by the way? I'd love to know more about you. We're just getting to know Chad recently. He just kind of showed up, and he's our official Twitch representative for the Pallazzo podcast.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So yeah, Montas, I think Luis Castillo and Brandon Drury of the Reds will both be gone. And that could very easily be a package deal and get a little bit more back. You know, when Drury's in a pocket of usefulness, teams are going to want that down the stretch. So I know there could be, 50 guys, right? It would be amazing to see the Angels decide what they're going to do. You know, are they going to just like empty everything out that they can possibly do to have veterans who are healthy, or are they going to do this stupid thing they've been doing over and over again, which is nothing? You know, pick your lane. Before the what was it, 14 game losing streak, the Angels looked amazing. And now look at them, right? Like, you can still have another 10. You could have a 10 game win streak, and all of a sudden you're looking good again. It's, you can beat the crap out of the Athletics down the stretch. You can, take Texas to town. There are things you can do if you're the Angels. But if you're not going to be a competitive team, it would be really amazing for them to trade some talent. Like if they could trade Thor, right? Just make some deals here. Let's just see some names move.
Molly? What about Molly? Do you think?
Yeah,
as
sure,
likely to be traded or less likely? He's okay. All right.
He on anybody
Any red
should
to
have,
be traded.
Yeah, 3 years of control or less, they should all be up, for that team. Because one of the things the Jays did last year was they got Brios, and they were like, here's a bunch of highfalutin prospects that we have no use for, because we want an MLB pitcher who can really be stable. And I remember at the time of the trade, I'm like, but that's not like this. The Brios we saw last year isn't the Brios that I know. The prospect who struggled, the guy who wasn't really good when he was with the Twins. It's the Brios we're seeing this year. That's the one. And his schedule sucked in April. And I said as much on the podcast was, you got to be really careful. Like he's lining up against some really, really like OBP heavy teams here. He's got to throw strikes. That's going to be tough, so Yeah, Joe Adele, 100% trade Joe Adele. Get him.
Oh, I'm with you
out
there. I've been saying that for a while. Yeah, like even before he came back up and got sent that down again. Oh, Benintendi. That's what Deary said on the earlier show today. He said that Benintendi would end up in Atlanta.
Oh, you guys have a podcast?
We do it once a week. I do it with my friend Chris Deary. I just kind of met him recently, and I was like, hey, dude, we should do a pod. Let's do it. I know we don't have the same birthday or anything. Oh, shit. Look at this. This is fun. DFA'd VR. Jonathan VR has been DFA'd by the Cubs.
Ooh.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's what happens when, look what they did with Clint Frazier, right? Teams are far less willing, I think, to have depth platoon dudes unless it's San Francisco who will say, give us all.
Yes, you are very wise. I appreciate that. By the way, Chad says, you're going to hate this. He's a New Yorker, but he has a home in London. How do you feel about that, Robbie?
A home in London, Ontario?
I believe that's what he's saying, because that's why he said the hairy nutsack of London. Yeah, Hamilton.
I'm fine with that. I was born in the city of London, but then grew up in Northern Ontario. It's okay to have Americans come here. I understand why. I would want to come here too.
It was so cool, by the way, when the Tigers used to have their AA team in London. That was like the coolest thing ever to me. I was like, oh, wow, their AA team's in Canada.
Yeah, and I don't know. And there was Ottawa Lynx. I think they were AAA for the Expos. I think that is correct as well. They were another one. And London most recently had it, and this was years ago now, called the London Rippers. They were part of the Pioneer League for half a season before they just
the Pioneer League.
Yeah, before they packed it up. And but the Rippers was supposed to be Jack the Ripper, which like is great as far as like a name goes. But people were offended by it. I'm like, come on, people. This isn't even the same London. This is just it. The logo was cool, all this stuff, but they didn't. They were at Labatt Park, which is the name of a beer company, and they couldn't get a liquor license. So hard to make money, right? Hard to make money.
That's ridiculous. That's oxymoron.
So they left. They became a road team the second half of the season, and then they folded. So, but that was one of the things where I used to love the Pioneer League, because you'd look at all the names today, and then in 3-4 years, people were really into them. Right, really into a lot of those players. So, Lynx were Expos. There we go. Oh, finished with the Orioles and Phillies. Oh, I had a Lynx hat growing
thank
up.
you, Chad.
I didn't know that. Yeah,
you're really not just a New Yorker. You really know your Canadian stuff. Good job, Chad. We're proud of you. By the way, I think this is a perfect trade. I really do. Joe Adele cranking bombs at Great American Ballpark. Luis Castillo provides a starter that the Angels desperately need. It really does make a lot of sense.
Well, the only crummy part of this is that the Reds are amongst the worst team with outfielders in Major League Baseball. So sending an outfielder that struggles there is going to be a perfect disaster for Adele, or the point at which they can begin to turn it around. There's two ways to go here. Like 2 L's, 2 Z's. There's two ways to go with Joe Adele and the Reds. And I like it. I think that is a fair trade.
Give me 2.
Yeah. Send the Reds. Not laugh. Huh? Send the Reds Jose Suarez as well, because I want him to go pitch somewhere. So,
all right, there it is. We're gonna end the show.
Right, Jackson Frazier. Yeah, that's Clint Frazier. He wants to be known as Jackson Frazier now. He's also going to be known as Mr. Quad A.
Hey, yeah, definitely, maybe. I had to explain Quad A to Travis and Eric on the Cinema 9 pod. You heard that? Yeah, it was really difficult. It was fascinating. Those guys, they don't. It's wild. It's wild what they don't know. All right, there it is. We did it. We did the show. My Pallazzo pal, Robbie Baseball.
Thank you for having me on.
This was great, man. It really was. I mean, we could have. There's so many things I'm gonna go back and listen to this stuff, because so many things you said I want to listen to again, and then look up the stuff that you talked about with the restaurant world and your experiences. Such a good time. Make sure you guys connect with Robbie. Come on. Follow the Dingers podcast. Connect with it. Subscribe to it. Follow him on Twitter, Robbie Baseball, numerical 1, RobbieBaseball.com. Follow Ty Childs. I mean, connect with this whole thing that I got going on here. It's Good Times Noodle Salad. And I believe that wholeheartedly. And look at this. The Winnipeg Free Press.
Yeah. That is
what is that?
That was an article from October 15th, 2013, talking about my restaurant that was in the Canadian press. So it got to a few different places in Canada. It was like the highlight of the restaurant. That and Going on Chopped were fun, exciting things. So
I got to tell Leanne all about this stuff. She's going to be even more motivated for us to come visit you guys now, because she doesn't know the half of it. She really doesn't. And I always tell her, yeah, they live up that way. And they're like, oh, there's nothing up there. I'm like, well, I don't care.
Oh, there is.
There is. I mean, who are these Windsorites to say there's nothing up there? Come on, what do you guys know, right?
The fun is what you make. And plus, we could always just go meet somewhere up by a cottage or whatever. You know, people often offer me things like, do you want to stay at my place? And I'll say, yeah, sure. And then I never take them up on it. Well, maybe we could arrange that I do take somebody up on one of those. And we could have a weekend.
Did you say, yeah, sure, or yes, sir?
Literally what I said was, yeah, sure.
Robbie is what Brad Garrett would be if he wasn't 50 feet tall. It was actually funny. Oh, man, that is good. Wow.
Jeez,
so Brad Garrett's not funny is what he's saying.
Yeah.
He's saying you're
I like
funny.
to watch. I was just going to say Home Improvement because now I got Detroit on the brain. But we watch Everybody Loves Ray. So when I go upstairs to make pizza, which I'll get shit for now because it's late and we should have already been eating.
Okay.
Wife,
I'm sorry.
no, not at all. My wife will forgive me because I'll say, well, we were talking about fun, exciting things, like your 35th birthday, which was an undisclosed number of years ago, and other such things. So
it was a great laugh. All right, there it is. Idle time. Thank you,
That's crazy.
Robbie B. I'm really laughing now. Robbie Baseball, thanks so much for being here. There's he's my Pallazzo pal. He's your Pallazzo pal. And until next time, thanks for everybody being here. Check us out in the Discord, the Patreon, etc. 2 L's, 2 Z's.
Utah.
Thanks again.
Give me 2.
Bye-bye.